Next, Jeffrey Brown explores the mixed signals coming out of North Korea today, where a possible overture also came with more threats against the U.S.
It was an annual New Year's address from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, but this year it came with a surprise outreach to Seoul, including possible participation in next month's Winter Olympics to be held in South Korea. Coupled with that, though, new boasts of the North's nuclear power. Here are some key excerpts.
The entire United States is within range of our nuclear weapons, and a nuclear button is always on my desk. This is reality, not a threat. This year, we should focus on mass-producing nuclear warheads and ballistic missiles for operational deployment. The Winter Games to be held in South Korea will be a good occasion for the country. We sincerely hope that the Winter Olympics will be a success. We are prepared to take various steps, including the dispatch of the delegation. Officials from the two Koreas may urgently meet to discuss the possibility.
What to make of these mixed messages? Frank Januzzi took part in Clinton administration talks with North Korea and has since worked on East Asia policy in and out of government. He now heads the Mansfield Foundation. Welcome to you.
Good evening.
Let's start with this new call for dialogue with South Korea. How important? What do you read? What do you read from it?
It's critically important. This was not a tweet. This is a carefully prepared government policy document. And the outreach to South Korea on two fronts, the Olympics, but also on the issue of reducing tension and trying to live side by side in peace. This was the first time that the Kim Jong-un government has really responded favorably to the peace initiatives offered up by South Korean President Moon Jae-in.
So you have that on the one hand, but on the other hand, it comes with this continued warning and reiteration to the U.S. of the nuclear power. So no change there.
Well, indeed, Kim Jong-un's Byung-jin policy, his dual-track approach of military preparedness and economic modernization, is predicated on first North Korea establishing a credible nuclear deterrent. They now claim they've done that. It perhaps opens the door to dialogue first with South Korea and hopefully down the road with the United States.
Well, even in recent days, the Trump administration has tried to marshal international other countries for continued and even stronger sanctions, right? So does a speech like this have the potential to change the calculus, if not for the U.S., but perhaps for other countries?
Well, I would certainly hope that the Trump administration is watching this speech extremely closely because it may represent the first positive outcome of the Trump administration's maximum pressure and engagement strategy. The pressure in New York, the pressure from the UN Security Council, the diplomatic isolation may be bearing fruit. And now may be the opportunity to seek for the off-ramps.
But you're saying it's something that the Trump administration could take credit for?
I don't really care who takes credit. I think they absolutely could take credit. I hope that they will, because if their policy is working, it can lead to tension reduction and the opportunity to make progress on the critical security issues that confront us.
But another reading of this could be that it's an attempt to create a wedge between the U.S. and South Korea.
Indeed, because the President Moon Jae-in has adopted a softer approach to the North than has the Trump administration. I think we should not worry too much. The South Korean-U.S. alliance is as strong as I have ever seen it in 30 years of looking at that special partnership.
But where does it leave South Korea? Because they have been, as you said, the president has called for this kind of new openness. And now it might actually happen.
Well, Moon Jae-in wants to lead on the issues on the Korean Peninsula. He doesn't want to delegate that job to Washington. So if he can now orchestrate a meaningful tension reduction and North Korean participation in the Olympics, he may get that chance to lead in 2018.
It's interesting, finally, just to think of the Olympics. This is the Olympics as kind of diplomacy ball, right?
Well, we've had sports diplomacy
we sure have,
in East Asia going back to the Nixon ping pong era. So if the Olympics can help bring a mood of peace and then a spirit of cooperation, that would be a wonderful outcome for these Winter Games.
What does happen next? I mean, what do you look for? Because we've seen swings so many times in this, right?
Absolutely. The first critical objective is to secure North Korea's participation in the Games. If that falls through, we may see a real diplomatic backlash. But I think the next steps are even more important, tension reduction. No one should expect North Korea to unilaterally disarm or unilaterally halt all their missile testing and military exercises. It's going to take careful negotiations.
All right. Frank Januzzi, thanks very much.
Thank you, Jeff.